Hi, everyone. Sorry for the confusion about the assignment today. Someone from tech support came by and looked at my computer, and it's something that I'm screwing up with my work computer in the office. So I'm at home and I'm making a new video while um, the Zoom recording that I thought I had done just didn't work out. I was saving the sound and not the video somehow, and I think they fixed it, so it should work in the future. But sorry about that. It's our first major technological snafu of the semester. Probably won't be the last one. I wanted to introduce you to this assignment. This is really, you can read it for yourselves. I just want to talk through some of the stuff that I would normally tell a class in person. This can be a really overwhelming assignment when you first look at it, and that's why I want to talk through some of the stuff. So as the intro text says, the goal is to give you an opportunity to spend some time extensively researching your field and the disciplines that inform its practices. The reason for that is to help you develop a sense of how research, reading, and writing are produced and consumed within your area or areas of interest. There's a lot of pieces to this assignment, and they're all listed here. As you can see, most of them are things that we're going to build over time. So for instance, the first thing that's listed, relevant weekly reflections and reading responses. These, you're going to select the ones that were most relevant to you as we were working on this project, and you're going to turn that in with the final version when you turn it into me. Transcribed interviews, and we'll talk about that when we get to those. You're going to interview two experts. You can do it via email. That's usually the easiest way, but some people prefer to be interviewed in person, and if so, I highly recommend that you do what your interviewee prefers. These can be professors in your field who you contact. They might be graduate students. If you have a lab in something and you want to talk to that person, they could be someone actually working in the field, right? So if you're an accounting major, by all means, interview an accountant. Most people who are experts in their field are pretty happy to share that expertise with students, especially if you seem enthusiastic and friendly and open in your questions. So, and the idea is just to gain knowledge from them, right? You're going to create an annotated bibliography of at least 5 sources. You might have more, but at least 5. And you're going to use these pieces and you're going to turn these in, but these are the pieces that are going to help you create actually the 3 primary pieces of this document. And those are the introduction to your field of study. This might include explaining the history, its connection to other disciplines, current issues and problems, future potential, and common genres of writing that are found in the field. It doesn't have to include all those pieces, but it might. Those are some potential pieces that it might include. And then you're going to have a description and plan for your project 1 and a description and plan for your project 2. And these are the 2 texts that you're going to create later on in the semester. That description and plan will include a rationale of why it's important, right? Like why it's important to you that you learn how to write in this form or you get practice doing it. You're going to explain the generic expectations, meaning the genre expectations, right? So each genre that we write in has certain expectations for how we're going to write in that genre, and you're going to explain what those are. You're going to analyze through examples, and we're going to talk more in depth about how you're going to do that. There's a variety of ways you could go about doing that, but the idea is for you to start looking at examples or models for yourselves before you jump in and try to do it yourself. And then your proposed timeline for completion, and this is really just to help you stay on track, right? Say, this week I'm going to do this thing, and next week I'm going to do this thing, and keep yourself moving. So where to start? As I've said here, you should begin by making lists and asking questions. The reading responses and the weekly reflections are designed to help you do this, but certainly if things come to mind that are beyond what those ask of you, write those things down too, absolutely. As I was explaining earlier, each of the pieces of the assignment is intended to build on what comes before it. That's the idea. So for, I think it's reading response 3, you're actually going to watch a video of what a real quick introduction to what a concept map is and how you can use one. Then you're going to make a concept map. Then you're going to bring that with you on the day that we all meet in the library, and you're going to use that to start doing research in the library. And from that research, we're going to develop interview questions, and we'll work on these as a class so people can share their questions with each other. Somebody else might write a question that you didn't think of, and then you're like, oh, that's a great question. I really want to use that. So all of our interview questions will be shared. You'll conduct your interviews, and all of the pieces of information that you gather through those assignments is going to contribute to your writing of those last three parts, right? So it's really critical at this juncture that you don't get behind, right? That you're doing the things in the order that you need to be doing them to stay caught up. You don't want to try to do all of this in a week. It's a lot of work, right? And I've tried to structure it so that it all builds on what you've already done, and each new piece adds to that. But if you get too far behind, it becomes really difficult to catch up because it's so much work. So some questions that you can start thinking about now. This is not an assignment. You don't have to go through and answer all of these questions. They're just meant to help get you started. So some of these may not be applicable to you at all, and some may be more applicable than others. But they're things to help you just start thinking about the project. As I've written at the end, we're starting with like a goals and outcomes approach, and that means that in order to plan the project, you start by thinking about where you need to get to. What is your final destination? And then you work backwards, right? And I've sort of created that, work backwards structure for you. But you're going to create it for yourselves for your next two projects, right? That's what this proposal is about figuring that out for yourself. How do I figure out where I want to go and then work backwards to structure my process to get me there in the most productive way for yourself, right? People are going to work differently. So that's my brief introduction to the assignment. Obviously, feel free to ask questions on this document the same as you have all of our other documents. I'm happy to answer them. Also know that as we move through the pieces, I will be attaching more specifics, right? So I don't want to add a lot of information right now about the interviews or the bibliography or any of those things because some people have a tendency to read all of it and become totally overwhelmed, right? And I'm trying to avoid that. What I will do is each week as we get to a new part, add more details to that part, right? So you're thinking about what you need to do that week and not thinking about actually what has to be done in like 4 weeks, because we don't need to think there. We just need to think 1 week at a time. Ideally, this is to help all of us with our anxiety levels. So I hope that it helps. Thank you very much, and good luck with your work for the rest of the week. I hope things are going all right. I did get a couple emails from people asking about grades for the discussions. You get 5 points for each post, right? And you make 2 posts for each discussion. Sometimes I can't grade all those at once. So you might look at one point and it says 50%. That probably means that I just haven't finished grading them, right? I'm going to try to get each one graded within 24 hours of when it happens, but that doesn't mean I can always do them all right at once. So just be alert to that. It doesn't necessarily mean if you're looking at your grade that somehow you only got half credit. Yeah, it probably just means I still have to grade them. Now, if you look like a week later and it still says that and you are wondering why, then get in touch with me, because it's also possible I just missed one. I'm sure it will happen at some point. All right, thanks guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.